I'm thinking another poem by Ustad Khalili where he says, when you get old, drink twice the share of wine. Now, if you're this, when I was young and translating the poem, Chupir Shadi Duchandan Mainush. You see, so I'm not. I had no connection whatsoever for me. I cannot understand it. And as I get older, suddenly I understand he means that it's not just a cute poem or poetic line. He means that you may you have new limitations, weaknesses, illnesses, lack of energy, and so forth, and you actually do need to drink twice the wine. So that means that you go to where the wine is made, which is in the heart, and you let go, and you find the bridge, and you cross the bridge. And the problem, of course, with the hakikat is it's an energy field that is vast. Okay, so the main quality is vast. So the proof of this is we take from Rumi challenging poems per se. So he would say, "Az kufroz Islam birun saharayist, mara ba meane an faza saudayist, aref chun badan rasid sara binhat." Na kufr wa na Islam na unja jayist. Okay, so this is a famous poem because you would know it maybe because it was translated a lot. So he says, outside of faith and infidelity, as kufr is Islam birun saharayist, there's a vast plain. So this is a key thing to understand, that the human experience of the majaz, it includes finding the vastness. So when it's only on the bridge, you look and you see the appearance through the shimmering and the emptiness and the sheer vastness of it. And so as you go into that, actually the whole time he's dragging you into it, you see, you suddenly are there, and this is where he says, Maraba meane an faza saudayis. For us, in that great, vast expanse, there is sauda, which for the Sufi means like undescribable pleasure and ecstasy. Meaning, if I am not me, I have so much more pleasure. You see, so. But then the thing is that when now is drinking and taking in this energy and this vastness, and just to end this part of this poem, so he says, Aref chun badan rasid sara benehat. So when the Aref reaches there, that is where they do their sajda. You see, the Arefa or Aref put down their head. You see it. This is the true sajda. You see. Na kufr wa na Islam. Unja jainis. So that you can translate it two ways. But the commentators, the knowledgeable commentators, they're interested in introducing the idea of what Suhrawardi Maktul, he calls it Nakuja Abad, is very beautiful in Persian, because Kuja means where. Nakuja, like in English, means nowhere. Abad in this case means place, or we would say, in this case we would say Nowheresville. Like if I were to translate it into English, Nowheresville. Do you understand? So it's a very beautiful, and you read Suhrawardi Maktul, he died very young, and he was over in Syria and this area, and he's writing in Arabic. I don't know if you know his work, but I recommend it to you, because he's very strong on describing the madras from different points of view, and that particularly if you find the rasail, this is the strongest, most clear of his work, in my opinion, are the short risala of his work, and you probably can find it in Arabic in Egypt, I think. At any rate, coming back to why would he do this? Why would he use strange words like that? Because he wants people to wake up to a concept that they might not have thought of. Most Persian speakers, they would not recognize immediately this expression, you see, of nakujabab. But he decides to use this expression, just like, for example, he decides that we talked last time, when you were not with us here, but 2 weeks ago, about existence and how the Sufis can use an existential formulation. And he says there's no need for the word existence because it is only light. So existence is a pretext because actually everything was light. Everything that was existence was actually light. So the case he makes there is not to denounce the existentialist, but rather to connect the spiritual experience with a direct experience of light, which is a very common thing that people would have if they are crossing the bridge of the madras. And coming back to prove again to you the way the Sufis experientially think about this, we can go back to the poem. I'm not going to recite the whole poem, but the beginning of the Rumi's Munajat. It says, Ay Khuda jan ra tu bin ma an maqam kandaru be harf miruyad kalam ta ke sazad jan pak az sar qadam سوی عرصه‌ی دور پهنای عدم عرصه‌ی بس باگشاد و با فضا و این خیال و حس یابد زو نوا. So I'll just stop the poem there because it's enough for the point I'm trying to make. So Rumi says, O God, Ay Khuda, Jan ra tu bin ma, to the soul, please show. Ay Khuda bin ma, on maqam, that place, that station, kandaru beharf miruyad kalam, that the holy words, they are sprouting but without words, the holy meanings, you see, they are the pristine, so they become the Quran essentially, and they become the world, but they are, he's not imagining an experience, he's describing his experience, and he's saying the munajat so that God may continue to give him this, but he's saying it so that human beings reading this, they will understand that there's something really different than they had expected. Because when we normally talk madras, people, they tell you, they want to talk about some strange and colorful thing, and he's trying to explain that the madras is the passing into what is beyond the madras. Into, you see the origin of the madras, because then he says, so that the pure soul can turn its head into feet that are running through the vast expanse of non-being, you see. So, and then he continues explaining this is a very vast expanse. So that's where I'm going to stop with. And this madras, meaning imagination, and this existence derives all of its sustenance from there. So you see, he's saying everything that is existent or that has form, or in particular he says imagination here, all of it, they can only occur because they're deriving their sustenance, naval, their food, from that place where there is no imagination. You see? And this place, of course, in Arabic is Adam, or Nisti in Persian, and it's also it also represents that beautiful experience of when we are not and he is. You see, so the practical value here is to understand that do not stop on the bridge, because see, there are many people, they have arrived onto the bridge, but the bridge is so fascinating. Imagine you're looking over the bridge and you see like goldfish and you see things flowing and so forth, but the bridge is not meant to stop on, is it? The bridge was meant to get one from one side to the other side. So that's something we're thinking about. And did you want to ask anything else about that? Okay.
Just the name, Risalat, or the name of the poem.
You just look for Surawardi Maktul. He was killed. He was killed by. He was imprisoned. So the best way, because there's many Surawardis in the Arab world, and the largest Surawardi path is not what we're talking about. He was an unusual person. He died young because he died in jail. And it was Salahuddin's nephew who put him in jail. So it was during this time of the demise of the Fatimid Empire in Egypt, and there was a change, and you had the really wild Persian. He was a Persian Sufi, but most of his work by far is in Arabic, but some of it is in Persian. That's why I was saying you can find. You will see Persian words, but I'm sure you will also see the whole book in Arabic, and he will use these funny expressions to wake you up, to say, well, what does it mean, Nakujabat? What does that could possibly mean? So in English, if you ran into a novel and it was talking about Nowheresville, doesn't that sound funny to you? Yeah, Nowheresville. But it's the biggest of all places. It's the biggest city of all, you see. And so you can find his work in Persian and Arabic, but I know in Arabic he wrote in both languages. But if you have trouble, you can also find it in English translated. There would be the treatises. See, so because the treatise would be Risala. Rasael would be the treatises of Surawardi Maktul. And if you Google that, you will probably find access to it in English. God has unlimited stories to explore. Therefore, there must be many slaves and servants decorating the hall with flowers and carpets. And you see, so the mind, there's a paradox here, because we are supposed to be who we are. And regarding the nature of good and evil, it would be perilous to imagine we have no evil, because the evidence is that if we make mistakes, we even think things or do things. There's also the domain of thought and imagination that could be more perilous. Agreed? Could be more because we don't want to see all of the divine names in ourselves, but the divine names are manifesting all the time. But the one about mind and thought is very simple, actually, because anyone who arrives at this place, they will have the same experience, and meaning ultimately they will be faced with this dilemma. I'm tasting freedom, but I'm not free. However, in fact, we're on the bridge, and it really is simple to sort of be at this end of the bridge or the other end of the bridge. You see what I'm saying? And so the bridge called Majaz, and I have the same. Everyone has same thing. It doesn't matter. You have cultivated it for a long time. So I am waiting. What I'm doing, I'm taking Hafiz's as advice. Jamaliya nadarad niqab و parda wali hubari ra benashan ta nazar tawani kard. So Hafiz says this wonderful idea, because the whole thing with the place where I am not is that it is a place that is very beautiful, and it's beautiful beyond anything else, you see. So the beauty of the beloved has no mask, it has no veil, but just let the dust settle. Now, who's making the dust? You see, some people say, well, the beloved is making the dust, riding ahead, and it's making dust. Well, yeah, the beloved has the divine names, but I am actually making the dust because I am running around in circles looking for this, and the whole time the beautiful beloved is there, and I'm making dust, you see? So it's the poems, sometimes they can get it in one line like that, where you just remember that, and you don't worry the minute, because eventually, here's the thing. Let's say that I'm in a dark space, let's say more comparable to normal, difficult existence. Now I go and I do an exercise that I was taught by my teacher, my beloved teacher. Says, okay, go and just be present and sitting when the light comes at the dawn. As you are a bat and you are not used to going into the daytime, just go in and sit there. The problem we have is initially the darkness of our being was visible to us in a dark world, and now with the light, it shimmers and is interesting in a different way, but it's still us. But if we keep sitting, it will ignite and be burned away, not with pain, with insouciance, in French means without thinking of it or knowing about, suddenly, see, all one has to do is wait, and suddenly there will be a transition, and there's no place for thought anymore. So don't worry, just keep sitting. Even for me it's wonderful because I say, oh, I'm still thinking, so therefore I'm still waiting. I'm still thinking, therefore I keep doing zikr. I don't be upset, even if I don't. But remember, I explained to you, as I was 40 years old something when I met Ustad. Imagine, that means that since, you can ask Mark Nelson, since we're 15, so we're seekers. So it takes a long time for anybody. And what I said about from Chun Pirshadi, Duchandan Mainush, you see, when you're older, drink twice as much wine. So you actually have more difficulty, like you maybe have to sit longer. When you have a group like this that's full of beauty and energy, it actually, that's the purpose of halqa. It's more powerful. It's more helpful. But if I'm at home, I sometimes sit for 2 hours, and I get my two cups of wine, because you need 2 cups of wine when you're older. Like I said, when I was young and I read the poem, I thought, oh, this is how quaint. I have no idea what that means. But when I saw Ustad Khalili and we were talking about, he's an old man. He understands better than I do what it's like to be old. Agree? Now, if you're a young man, he said, when you're young, work, because it's harder when you're older. This is the advice he told me. And but in all cases, never fear. It is fully in our nature. So the piece of the kataba fi kulubihim al-imana, that would be the norm for the Muslim at heart. Okay, so he has determined and given them, you could say, the iman. In the truth, there's a lot of people, they don't have an interest in it at all. So it's not a question of one has to have a inherent sense of faith or an inherent sense of looking for something greater. And the recognition of this is the recognition that he put the faith in the heart. Kataba fi qulubihim al-imana. But the important one that comes next, wa ayyadahu biruhin minhu. So this is because everything, the Spirit will wipe out everything, you see? So that's what he means. That's what he was talking about in the other Rumi poem. He was saying that really when you say Adam, it's not nothing. On the contrary, it's everything. It's the fertile void we say in English. It has the potential of everything, but it is silent. See, it's very beautiful. So it's spirit. Only when it comes into recognition, usually then, like Surah al-Mahtul, he talks about the light and or if you want, Ibn Arabi, go to the chapter Joseph in Us al-Hikam. There you will see for yourself that he's talking about the Ayan Thabitha, and he's talking about how they are in the dark, but they actually it's more beautiful than this because he's talking about the Ayan are actually in the form of the ground or the mirror, and it is the light which causes God's divine names to manifest in that mirror or ground. Therefore, the divine name, the light, is clearly not, it has this exceptional position of being the one who brings into existence, you see? But what it brings into existence is the shadows of the divine names as they reach the ground. And we are living shadows. So the majaz in this presentation is one is working back towards the divine names, back towards the source. And again, the metaphysics is one thing, but it's important because if you grasp the metaphysics, you realize there's nothing wrong. Like I sit there, maybe nothing happens. There's nothing wrong. Keep sitting. Have faith that if iman here is, it's not merely the religious sense of that. It's the actuality of that part of infinity which he has put into you. And since he is the infinite, and he has put that place for the manifestation of infinity, you may keep counting to 1,000,000, but at some point your mind will no longer do that, you see? Like, the story of the princess and the figs, that she was the princess and she was addicted to figs. So people would come and they'd have bags of figs and she would eat the whole bag and she still wanted more figs. And do you know this story? Yeah, so finally there was a young man. These are like typical old Persian stories. You can read about them. And this young man heard about this, that the king will reward whoever cures the princess. He will reward by giving her hand in marriage to him, you see. And then he will be, of course, in a noble position. So on his way, he is a very lucky young man, and he goes into many difficulties, but essentially he finds, through the help of some forest spirits, he finds about a bag that he has. And in this bag, whatever you put into it, it keeps giving. You cannot empty this bag, you see. So he finds this out, and so he goes to the king and he says, I have come to try to cure the princess. And as usual, the king says, Do you see all of these heads on spikes out here on the castle? These are people who tried to come and cure the princess, and they failed, and they were punished for this reason. Are you sure you wish to take on this job? He said, yes, I'm sure. So he goes in, he just has this, he unfolds the bag, and he sees that he puts a fig inside the bag, and then for the next 2 weeks, she's just constantly eating figs because they don't run out. At the end of this time, she goes, "Ugh, take it away. I don't want to see another fig for the rest of my life," you see. So she's cured. She's cured of eating the figs, and so he marries her, and she's cured, and she becomes fine, and you see. So the point is that the mind, we have to understand, like this whole crazy idea that one is going to become squeaky clean. Like, how is that possible? According to this logic, I should not have to go to the bathroom anymore. According to this logic, I should not have to sleep anymore. Right? I should not have to do ghusl, wudu. I should not have to. You see what I mean? This is not true. Until the end of my life, I will have to bathe. I will have to struggle with that. This is the human side, the nafs, and so it's a great paradox. And the only explanation for it is the divine names, meaning that it is in the desire of God that each entity has a variety of names acting, and is there free will? There is and there isn't, right? According to Sufi point of view. So from the point of view that there isn't, it's because he has predetermined everything. But we don't have a precise knowledge of that, do we? What we do have a precise knowledge is our relationship to will. And we have to ask ourselves the question, is my application of will noble, as I think it is, or is it not actually noble? Would it have been better to be more open? You see? So when we start to look at will at the human level, and we think of all the things we have done willfully in our lives, we can categorize them. And I, for myself, I would categorize them saying, well, whatever has brought peace inside of me, whatever has brought good to others, whatever has brought taqwa to me, meaning an awareness that God is there. Because isn't it easy to watch a movie or something, or a TV show, or talk to somebody, and you've forgotten at that moment, agreed? So when he says, وَأَيَّدَهُمْ بِرُوحٍ مِّنْهُ, because you were talking about how this is, we can say it's located in sadr, or in the heart. This is where we run into this wonderful situation where he describes, and he says, Shahid Allahu la ilaha illahu, you see. So God says in Quran that he is the one who is therefore having this experience. So that's very valuable, because yes, I'm participating, but I'm not really there until I no longer have this preoccupation with thought. And I didn't have to do anything. He's going to do it. See, will is actually the issue here. So there's the will of selfhood and of those aspects of divine name where the creature seeks, claims to be the owner of the house, using the analogy of last meeting. Whereas when we realize it's him, it's so pleasurable. And in fact, we can then have thoughts, feelings, all kinds of experiences. At any moment we check and we see the vastness in our sadr. At every moment it is always there, it always was there, but now it is revealed to us. So you see, it's a very interesting thing. How do you think the great Sufis wrote about what they knew? So in other words, there's a relationship between the divine spirit and insight, because it's described this way. There's not only the heart, isn't it the eye of the heart? So the Ain al-Qalb, the eye of the heart. We look at all the hadith, all of what happens with the manifestation of spirit, and the human being is there like the clothing that I wear. That's it. Because the being that's inside of there is the Lord manifesting, you see. So one has it's comical actually, because what happened is the landlord took the house back but allowed the tenant to live in one of the rooms out of great kindness.